Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today I have another great guest on. And what I was excited about this guest is, he's lived a lifetime of working in a career, and after retiring, some people choose to go back into doing something else that they're passionate about. And what he was passionate about was networking and connecting business professionals and business owners. So I definitely wanted to bring him on board to talk about Network Charlotte. So welcome to the show, David Cauble.
Thank you, Terrell. It's very good to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that really interests me when you talked about, you lived your lifetime, I guess you say your a career lifetime in financial advising. And when you decided to retire, you just didn't want to sit around and do nothing. So, what was it like going from, like I said, being in financial advising for so long and then making that decision to say, hey, you know what? I'm ready to do something new.
Well, it was pleasurable to retire. Let me say that first of all. For those of you who haven't reached that point yet, I highly recommend it. For me, I'd been in financial services, totally about 38 years. It was a great career. It was in 2009, so I guess about the last 12 years, I had become an independent financial advisor. So I had my own company. And when I started my company, which was called Transitions Wealth Management, about the same month, I created a group on LinkedIn called Network Charlotte. The reason being, having a new business, I thought, as many people have thought, that what better way of getting new clients than to network. And hot on the heels of that thought was, well, gee, if you're going to network, wouldn't it be nice to own the networking group? And so LinkedIn was something relatively new for me. And I started the group the same month I opened my business, and started with about 1,000 connections. And I checked earlier this morning, we're currently standing at 51,100 members. So it's obviously a lot of people have a passion about networking. And when I retired, I thought, this is something that I want to continue. And it was certainly good for me while I was in business. And I think it serves a lot of people in the area.
Nice. No, I think that is amazing. I mean, when you think about just developing a community, because I think that's something that a lot of people, they see the aspect of the value of networking, but they don't always think about, the people who actually organize these networking ecosystems. And so, as you started in those early days of kind of creating Network Charlotte, what was your vision of where you wanted it to be, or what was your goals?
I think my primary goal was I wanted a place where people could go, sort of a clearinghouse, if you will, of information for people who wanted to network in Charlotte. In 2009, there were a lot of networking events going on, but it was sometimes challenging to find out exactly where they were. And when I started the LinkedIn group, I found that there were a great number of people who were new to Charlotte, and they were asking that question, where I want to network, but where can I do that? And so, as opposed to being an exclusive group, we wanted to be as inclusive as possible. In other words, if you run a networking group, we would want you to post information about your networking meeting. And for a long time, we maintained a calendar of everything from Rotary clubs to, I'm not even sure if Eventbrite was a thing back in 2009, but whether it was meetups or what have you, we wanted to be a place where people could get that information and find out how they could connect with other people.
Gotcha. Now, I guess with so many different, like you say, opportunities for networking, I mean, how did you guys start to, develop, I guess you say, that attention? Because going from 1,000 connections to 50,000 plus over the years, and like I said, there are a ton of places that people can go to network. Like, how did you guys really start creating that community where people saw, at Network Charlotte as like, hey, that's a community I want to get connected with?
I think part of it was just dumb luck. When I was creating the name or trying to decide what to call the group, um, I thought, okay, what is it we want to do? Obviously, we want to network. And where are we? We're in Charlotte. So naming the group Network Charlotte didn't seem to have a lot of pizzazz, but when people are searching, particularly when they're new to the city and they want to network, those are the two keywords or two of the keywords that they put in. So it just attracted more and more people. And another thing, this past year, while we've dealt with the pandemic, we've seen a tremendous increase in the membership. I would say we've probably added between 8 to 10,000 new members. And if you think back to where we were in 2009, we were just coming out of what some people call the Great Recession of 2008. And a lot of people were looking to network because it became very apparent that they needed to do something additional to have the personal growth and career opportunities that they were looking for. A lot of people had lost their jobs. So again, during difficult and challenging times, a lot of people turn to networking, and we're there as hopefully as a resource. But certainly, we've accumulated a lot of members during some challenging times.
Gotcha. I
On
think
the
that
flip side of that, I would say that when things get really good, there is a tendency for people to become a little more complacent about networking, and we'll actually see the growth slow. But it's
Mhm.
always been a positive growth. We've never had a period of time where we saw membership fall.
Mhm. And that brings up an interesting point, which some a discussion that I have, and my mindset has changed. When I went from my earlier days in as a professional in accounting and finance to leadership, and then into now owning my own businesses, my thought process on when networking is, I guess, when you need to network. Before, I had that mindset of, okay, when I needed a job, that's when I needed to network. But that has changed over time, and now my hypothesis is like networking should just be a normal part of how I do, no matter what the phase is. So I'm curious from, your experience as the financial advisor and financial services, and now with Network Charlotte, it's kind of like, how do you view when is the right time or when is the appropriate time to network?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. It needs to be an ongoing, constant activity. It's a bit of a cliche, but a saying I've heard over and over again throughout the years is, when you're thirsty, it's too late to dig a well. So don't wait until you need your network to start trying to build your network. Um, and after all, I think sometimes networking as a buzzword kind of uh, is overused. But really, what we're doing is building relationships with people in our community. And the more, in my opinion, the more diverse that community can be, the better your chances of success, whether you're looking for advancement in your career, whether you're looking for a new job. It's good to on the one hand, be part of a group of like-minded people, but like-minded in terms of being interested in networking, not like-minded in terms of just like your very close social circle. You need to spread out and get input, from people who are not like you.
Mhm. No, I think that's a really good point. I mean, and one of I guess, the things that it makes me think about is when you see a lot of people during times where things are rough, like you said, coming out of the Great Recession of 2008, and then now with, the impact of COVID, of everything going virtual, to where it's like something triggers in people like, oh, I need to network. Like, I guess, have you seen any reason why people are a little apprehensive to network, or why they become more casual or more complacent about networking when times are good?
Well, networking can be challenging for people for a number of reasons. Some people, quite frankly, are not comfortable networking. Um, and these are the introverts of the world. These are my people. My tendency is to be more on the more of an introvert than an extrovert. So if people listening take anything away, take heart. If you're an introvert, you can do it, and you can build something from it. Um, but sometimes it's, even for extroverts, um, it's not the easiest thing to do. It might not even be the thing that you prefer to do. It might be a lot easier to stay at home and watch your favorite program on TV, or go out, for a nice dinner with your significant other. There's any number of reasons why networking kind of gets a bit of a bad rap, because um, you do encounter people at networking events who maybe are there for the wrong reasons. For example, if I'm a salesperson and I know I have to sell 500 widgets this month, going to a networking event might seem like the opportunity to find my 10 additional customers. Well, that's really, in my opinion, not why you should be there. Your reason for being there is to establish relationships. And if you help enough people, then you will find people willing to help you. And it takes time. But, again, networking events attract both those people who want to collect business cards and those people who want to close their next deal, as well as those who are there to build relationships. So it's anytime you're dealing with a large group of people, there are some challenges.
Mhm. No, that one I definitely completely understand. And something you said that was very interesting is you mentioned about being an introvert. Like, how long did it take you to accept and embrace, being an introvert?
I guess I've realized that since I was a very young person, that my batteries get charged by quiet time, as opposed to jumping in, with a group of people as a default um, setting, if you will. But something I've learned over the years is that you can learn from those extroverts, that you can, in fact, recharge your batteries by jumping in with a group of people. You just have to have the right mindset. And I guess I would sum that up. The right mindset, that is if you are at a networking event and you want to be interesting to the other people there, you need to be interested in the other people there. And that takes a lot of the pressure off, that you don't have to control the conversation. Being a good listener is a very valuable asset when you go to a networking event.
No, I think that is amazing. I mean, it reminds me of a line of from one of my favorite books of How to Win Friends and Influence People that I found years ago is that, the more I spent time being interested in other people, the more interesting they found me to be.
Well, I think that if a person goes to a networking event and does what you're doing naturally here on your show, and that is ask questions, about other people, and because people do love to talk about themselves, so that is key to being, I think, successful in a networking setting.
Awesome. So now, speaking of Network Charlotte, when people, when they're looking at Network Charlotte and they say, okay, all right, I want to understand, like, how can I get engaged with the different events or the different webinars or Zooms, or, how does Network Charlotte host events and how can people find out about them?
Well, the best way, well, there are two ways. First of all, join our LinkedIn group. And although I will say this, that we are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on a number of platforms, but LinkedIn is sort of our flagship presence. It's definitely where we have the largest membership. But every week I put out a post or discussion, and it covers, what's coming up in terms of our Zooms. Now, it may not be, if we just had a Zoom last week, then next week's post won't necessarily list the one coming up in September. But if you keep up with these, if you're a member of the group and you at least visit the site a couple of times during the week, then you will see those announcements. And we also have a website, networkcharlotte.org. And there is an events page, and we not only have information about upcoming networking meetings and opportunities, but we also have recordings of, I think right now, the previous 10 Zooms that we've done. And we've had some great speakers on, provided by one of our sponsors, Teresa Gittimer of Hey Red Speakers Agency. And so she's found some very informative and entertaining speakers for us during the Zooms.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, David, before we wrap up, one question I'd always like to ask every guest that comes on is, when you think about your experience of where you've been and you think about the journey of where you are now, it's, what's two pieces of advice that you would share with other business professionals?
Well, I think that we touched on some of these, that, it is important, and, to be out there, to be networking within the community. But it's as important, I think, to have the right attitude about and temper your expectations for networking. It's not a quick fix. It's something to do consistently and to be persistent, and with the attitude of trying to help other people in the community. I'm not sure whether it was Zig Ziglar or probably a dozen other people who said, that if you can have everything or get everything you want if you help enough other people get what they want. Or there are a lot of people, a lot of other businesses and entrepreneurs in the community that have goals very similar to yours. They obviously want to grow their business. But wouldn't it be a fantastic thing if we could all help one another build our businesses? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be each other's clients, but we may either be a mentor or give advice, to based on our experiences. and we can listen and give valuable feedback, to those other business people in the community. So that's really your purpose for being there. And I think you build trust, among the people that you network by being a giver rather than a taker. I think that's a long-winded way of answering one of those. And the other bit of advice is, whether you feel like you have the gift of gab, or you really want to be out there networking, just go, be yourself, be genuine and authentic, and reach out to other people, and it will pay dividends.
Awesome. I love it. Well, David, thank you so much for coming on and being an amazing guest on the show.
Well, thank you. It's been my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like our content, be sure to follow us on social media. And if you want to see more of our exclusive content, you can subscribe and become a member on patreon.com/Business Talk Library. Hey, the Business Talk Library is the place where business makes sense.